They once said, "The sun never sets on the British Empire." But even the brightest sun must fade. Across the world, from the jungles of Asia to the coasts of Africa, the echoes of empire still whisper. Stories of conquest, betrayal, and the quiet vanishing of nations once ruled in the name of the crown. Welcome to Echoes of Empire, where we bring the forgotten stories of Britain's past back to life. Today, we uncover the truth behind the lands that slipped away. Britain's lost colonies, the empires that vanished. The British Empire was not built in a day. It rose from the smoke of naval battles, stitched together by explorers, merchants, and soldiers who believed they carried civilization across the seas. But glory has a cost. In the Americas, the 13 colonies were the empire's jewel. Rich, fertile, full of promise. Yet, across the Atlantic, whispers of liberty began to drown out the orders of kings. When the muskets fired at Lexington and Concord, Britain's illusion of eternal rule shattered. The colonies declared independence. And an empire learned that even power has limits. The loss of America wasn't just a political defeat, it was an awakening. An empire could win wars but not hearts. Empires don't collapse overnight, they crumble in silence. Across the globe, rebellion brewed. In the Caribbean, enslaved men and women rose against their masters, daring to imagine a dawn free from British chains. In Africa, kingdoms that once traded under red banners began to resist. And in Asia, the storm gathered. From the sepoy mutinies of India to the forgotten uprisings of Burma and Malaya. Each rebellion was a whisper, small, distant, but together they became a roar. Britain's might, stretched across oceans, began to tremble under the weight of its own ambition. As the world modernized, empires began to fade into shadows. After the great wars of the 20th century, Britain stood victorious, but hollow. The crown was still polished, but the hands that held it were weary. India broke free, not through guns, but through will. The jewel of the empire turned into a beacon of independence. Soon after, Africa followed. Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, names once printed in colonial reports now stood proud on the map of free nations. The empire had become an echo, its colonies turning into countries, its commands turning into memories. By the mid-20th century, the British Empire was no longer a dominion of conquest, it was a memory of power. The Caribbean islands gained voices of their own, the Pacific colonies faded from the flag, and even Hong Kong, once the gleaming trade hub, slipped away into history. Britain's empire had not been defeated by force, but by time. Every empire rises, believing it will last forever. But power, like the tide, always retreats. Though the empire has vanished, its ghosts remain. In languages, in borders, in the systems that still shape the modern world. The railways of India, the courts of Africa, the parliaments of the Caribbean, all speak of an empire that once was. But the greatest legacy is not the buildings or the battles. It is the lesson that power built on control cannot endure. And that freedom, once tasted, can never be forgotten. These were Britain's lost colonies. The empires that vanished not with a bang, but with the whisper of change. This was Echoes of Empire. Subscribe to uncover more untold stories from the heart of Britain's history. Because even when the empires fall, their echoes never truly fade.